In this video, I'm going to show you how I make sourdough bagels. Every day, I feed my sourdough starter. Before feeding, I remove some of the starter, which is necessary to keep the starter thriving. The discard jar is kept in the refrigerator. Or you can just throw it away. Or feed your chickens if you have any. It's good for them. There are so many great things you can make from the discard, such as bagels. I like to use it up. The night before I decide to make bagels, I remove the discard jar from the refrigerator because we want it at room temperature. It is now the morning on a cool fall day, the day that I have decided to make fresh bagels. My sourdough discard jar has sat out on the counter all night and is at room temperature. Let's begin. I'm making a double batch, but I'm giving you the recipe for a single batch on screen. I put all my ingredients into my KitchenAid mixer and then mix them up. I add all the dry ingredients first: bread flour, sugar, and salt. Using my wire whisk, I mix them together. Then I add the wet ingredients: sourdough discard, warm tap water. I change to my dough hook to mix the dough. Usually I have to finish mixing by hand on the countertop. You may need to add a little bit more water or flour depending on the ratio of your discard. The finished dough will be firm and not sticky. If it's too dry, add more water. If it's too sticky, add more flour, a little at a time. Knead the dough until you can form it into a ball. You can see the dough is quite firm. Grease a bowl. I like to use glass because that way you can see the activity of the sourdough. I use lard, but you can use oil or butter, whatever you have available. Cover with a plastic wrap and let the dough rise until it doubles. On warm days, I put the bowl on top of my freezer to rise because the freezer gives off some heat which aids the rising process. Since it is a cold day today, I've decided to place the bowl of dough inside my oven with just the light on. That seems to work really well for me. The light alone adds a little heat. I prepare the water that I'm going to boil them in by adding 1 tablespoon of sugar to the boiling water. It usually takes about 90 minutes for the dough to double in size. Dough comes out of the greased bowl quite easy. I divide the dough into equal pieces. Since I have doubled the recipe, I want 20 pieces. I form them into smooth balls. Then I add the whole by pressing my thumb into the middle and slightly stretching and manipulating the dough so it's even all the way around. Well, I let them sit a bit, prepare my pans for baking by placing parchment paper on each pan. I'm using pizza pans, but you could use cookie sheets. I can get 5 to 7 bagels on each pan. These are large pans. Before I begin to boil them, I test just one bagel. If it floats, when placed into the boiling water, I can continue to boil the rest of them. But if it does not float, I cover them with a towel and give them more time, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, whatever it takes, and I repeat the test. If they sink to the bottom, you may find the bagels to be very dense and kind of tough. If they float, the bagels will be nice, soft inside with a crusty outer shell as a bagel should be. The boiling process makes for a chewy crust. A shorter boil will be less chewy. A longer boil will make a more chewy crust. Do what is your preference. I boil each side the same amount of time, anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds. You can use a slotted spoon or a slotted spatula to remove the bagels from the water. Place them on your prepared baking pans. I brush an egg wash, which has a little bit of water mixed in it. Then I add toppings. You can also leave some without toppings, if you like. I like to have a variety. Bake at 425 degrees, 18 to 22 minutes, or until the desired goldness. My bottom ovens seem to be run slightly hotter, so they turned out browner than I usually like. I like to use an electric knife to slice them open. That way we don't have to wait for them to cool. So we don't wait for them to cool. I divide the bagels, trying to cut through the middle with 2 equal parts. That way they can fit into the toaster nicely. I do not cut all the way through, but I leave them connected a tiny bit so that they hold together in the freezer. My husband just cannot resist any kind of hot bread fresh out of the oven. My husband likes to make sandwiches with the bagels. They do make good breakfast sandwiches, like with egg, sausage, and cheese is the way we like to eat them.
Very good.
I also love them with cream cheese along with a cup of tea. What bagels we do not eat that day get packaged for the freezer. Once they're fully cooled, I package them up. Since there's just 2 of us at home now, I bag them in 2s. 2 bagels can fit into a quart-size bag. breads, just about any kind of bread, freezes very well. They can be thawed or popped into the toaster when desired. So, as you can see, making homemade bagels is not difficult. Try it. I think you'll like them. Thanks for watching.